All right, so just a quick review of where we left off yesterday, because it's been a day. Yesterday, we wrote these 3 lines of code. Basically, in router.js, we said, hey, we're going to add a new endpoint / create entry. When the client requests that endpoint with an HTTP GET command, we're going to render the EJS file create entry and respond with that. We then were like, oh, we need to, what else do we need to do? We need to go to, nope. We had already done this. We already had the button here. That's not it. What did we create next? Oh, we created createentry.ejs. So we're still in the middle here. We copied and pasted this code from index.ejs. So now I want to modify it slightly. And we're going to keep refactoring this throughout the next few days. So it will get better. But we do want to actually make this a slightly different page so that we can use it as a form that the user will complete when they create a new entry in their journal. And so what we're going to do here in the main section is after employability competencies journal header, we're going to add a div element. In our div element, we're going to have a number of labels and inputs for the user to type different things. So we're going to use the label tag, and this is something we use as a way to label an input. And an input is an HTML element that allows the user to type something, click on something, somehow specify some information that will eventually be sent to the server. So we're going to label this input element date. And then still inside the label tags, we're going to add an HTML input element of type date. So there's many different types. We're going to use a few of them today. We're going to give it a class. And again, this maybe should be an ID, and I'm still working my way through like why. So I am still working on that. So that will allow the user to select a date from like a calendar widget, which is convenient. We're going to have another label here, which is going to be the employability competency. That's such a long word. Competency. And that's going to be an input of type text. So text is what allows them to like just type in on the keyboard. The class of that is going to be EC for employability competency. What else do we want them to do? We are going to have another label, which is going to be journal entry. And this is not going to be an input because an input is like just a one-line thing for typing in something short, like communication. We want them to be able to type several sentences. So we'll use a different HTML element for this. We're going to use one called text area. And it's going to be of class content. And what we put inside here will be the default text that they can then change. So it'll be like my journal entry. And then we need a button for them to submit it. So another type of input element is of type submit. And this works with like HTML forms. We don't always take this approach to get data from the user to our server, but we do sometimes, of class submit. And we need to give it a value. The value is what will be the label of the button. So we want the button to say submit. So we've added 4 new elements here. Well, more than that, but we have a date control. We have a text box where they're going to type in their employability competency. We have a big text box where they can type in their journal entry. And then we have a submit button. Yesterday, we had already changed the inclusion of the script to include the createentry.js script, which we haven't written yet, and we will. But for now, at least we have the right script. This way? Okay. In the early days of HTML, we used HTML forms a lot. An HTML form is another element, and it kind of builds in some of the handling of a simple form, and that's where some label and input stuff comes from. It's not as common anymore. It's a little bit more old-fashioned, and we have some more flexibility and power if we kind of build our own form, which is what most web apps do these days. So that said, these input elements are still useful for like doing a date control like we're going to see. So the other thing we added yesterday to provide context is on our index.js page, we did add this event handler to listen for the click event on the create entry button and to change the Windows location to /create entry, which will redirect the client to a new page. So we did that yesterday as well. So the last step we need to do is we're including this JavaScript file, client-side JavaScript file, createentry.js. So now we need to actually write that code. So again, in the assets folder under JS, click on highlight JS, click on the new file, and we are going to call this createentry.js. And this is where we're going to put a little bit of JavaScript stuff. I'm going to copy the comment here at the top because I think it's helpful for you all whenever you open one of these files to be reminded, like, what is this? Where are we? Like, oh yeah, this file is client-side JavaScript functions. Oh, it's primarily event handlers. Great. All right, let's like get a reference to that submit button. So const submit button document, again, the global document variable, query selector, just like we've done before. We want input.submit. So input is the HTML element type. Dot means look for the class called submit. If we were doing IDs, this would be different. I'm going to make myself a quick note. I'll try to have a better answer for you all on Monday, and maybe we'll make some code changes. We need to add an event listener. And as usual, we want to listen for that click event. And we're going to specify an arrow function to be called when the user clicks on the submit button. So when the user clicks on the submit button, we need to gather all the data they've typed in on the web page. And we do that using query selector and getting the value of the element that we find. And here's how it usually looks. So we'll create a bunch of variables like date. So we'll do document.querySelector. We're familiar with that. We're going to say input.date because we're looking for an input element with the class of date. And then we'll do dot value. Oops, that's not right. Dot value. So document query selector returns a reference to the element. The element has a property, which is what is its value. And the value of a date type of input element is going to be the date the user chose. So that's handy. We also want our employability competency that they typed in. So again, document.querySelector. IntelliSense is super helpful here. Input.ec is the class name we gave that. And then we do dot value. What else did they type in? Oh, the actual content of their journal entry. Document.querySelector. Text area dot content is the class name we gave it. And then we'll get the value of that. Eventually, we want to then do an HTTP post command to send all this data to the server. We're going to do that in a moment. For now, let's just log all of this to the console so we can see how this is working. I'm doing this in smaller steps for two reasons. One, I want to keep to this mini lesson approach so you have little snippets of code and videos that you can look at and reference later this semester and next semester. And two, I just want to model this best practice of like not trying to write all the code at once. This is going to be so critical next semester. I know I say this all the time, but like let's take small steps. Let's make sure certain things work. That's always an important strategy. It's extra important with web apps because when things don't work, I think it's harder to figure out why. So we're just going to say console.log. We're going to log the date. We'll concatenate that with like a semicolon and a space. Then we'll do employability competency, concatenate that with a semicolon and a space. And then we'll do the content. And then for now, redirect the user, the client, to the home page. The home page, the index page, the root page, all like synonyms. So we'll say window.location, and we're going to set that equal to the default page, just slash. Send them back home. So I haven't run anything yet today. So because it's the first time, I'm going to click on the run and debug menu. I'm going to select my node server. I'm going to run it. I'm going to select my node client. I'm going to run it. There it is. I'm going to open up the console so I can look for things. This error is okay. If you see something about favicon.ico not found, websites can specify a favorite icon. That's the icon that would show up right here in Chrome. We don't have one of those for our web app. So not a big deal, but you could certainly create one. So that's what that means. If I hit create entry, cool, I'm redirected to create entry. Here's the form. I can click on the calendar icon and choose a date. Yesterday, my employability competency for yesterday. Say digital communication. I think that's one of ours. And I could say updated daily agenda. You can type whatever you want. Updated daily agenda with links to GitHub and YouTube. And when I click submit, oh, something might have happened, but like it's gone. Like I don't see it anymore. That's annoying, right? So here's what we can do in the, let me show you two solutions. Here's how we can fix this in Chrome. We can go to the gear icon for the console, which is this one, not the gear icon for the inspector. A little bit of confusing in the UI. And there's this descriptor here that says preserve log. If I check this, then if I do create entry, and hit submit, it preserves all the console log messages instead of by default clearing the console every time we go to a new page. So I can actually see that we actually got the date, the employability competency, and the journal entry here, and then it tells me it navigated to a different page. The other place I can see those messages is in VS Code. I can go to my debug console and I can switch between the server and the client. So these are all the server console.log messages. I can switch to the client console.log. Oh, and it's gone maybe because I didn't have it open. Let's check. Why don't I see it? Interesting. I'll look into that too. I thought the console messages showed up in both VS Code and in Chrome, but perhaps I'm mistaken. Try one more thing here quick. Nope. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that too. All right. Oops. Didn't mean to do